evening, everyone, and welcome to the How Can I Support My Child series. It's another beautiful day. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, and yes, we are here to answer another pertinent question that parents ask about parenting and how they can support their children effectively. All right, dear parents, your young children and your preteen are growing children. Yes, they are growing, and yes, they will need your support. But I say to parents every time, and I say to you today, the best support that you can give to your child is to point your child to their own journey. The best support that you can give to your child is to help your child understand the role that they play in their own lives. The best support you can give to your child is to ensure that your child understands the why in everything that they have to do, especially when it concerns them. You are doing your child a disservice if you, by any way, directly or indirectly, portray that what your child does that has something to do with their life affects you, all right, or it is about you. When we put before our children the fact that their actions or inactions affect us directly and not them first, we take the responsibility from them, okay, the responsibility of their lives, we take it away from the child and make it seem like they need to do what they have to do for us. Oh no, that is not the right notion to pass down to a child. The child is an individual, and what you are doing as a parent is you are a custodian or a guardian. So you are guiding and leading the child until the child is old enough to direct themselves. So at no point should you, as a parent, make your child feel like the life that they are living is more important to you than it should be to them. Welcome. My name is Mirabel Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And yes, I am the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle. The Mastermind Circle is a peer mentorship and accountability group that we run for young children and preteen. Yes, we run this because we want to raise young children and we want to raise preteens who understand the role that they play in their own lives. We want to raise children who learn as early as possible that their journey is valid and their journey is a building block, or is their journey is a building process towards the adults that they will become. So yes, whether we like it or not, some of the choices that our preteens and our young children will make today will affect the adults that they will become tomorrow. So the earlier we get them to understand that what they do or their actions and inactions have got relevance, then the better for them and for us. Give me a second. Then. All right, so let's move it. So, welcome to the show today. And today we are going to be answering the question: how can I support my child who isn't interested in schoolwork? How can I support my child who is not interested in learning? Yes. Now we are looking at the topic because education is a thing. I mean, education is life basically, and education is not necessarily what happens in the four walls of a school. But we are at a time where school is a priority, and yes, school should actually be a priority. So whether your child is getting an education at home, homeschooling, or your child is in a traditional school, all right, we may have those children who are really not interested in the academic part of education, right? We have those kind of children who are not interested in the academic part of education. So if this is your child, what are you going to do, or what's the right thing to do? These are the question, or this is one of the questions that parents who have children in regular schools are asking us. All right, so we're going to touch on this, okay, for you who is a parent of a child in a regular school, and yes, for you who is a parent who is probably homeschooling your child. All right, before we dive into how we can help our children begin to enjoy, all right, how we can help them to get interested in schoolwork and all of that, let's look at some of the things that could be the reason why your child isn't interested in schoolwork. All right, so let's look at some of the things that could be the reason why your child is disinterested in their schoolwork in the first place. All right, we're going to jump right into it. This show is for between 20 and 30 minutes, and we plan to keep it at that today. All right, so yes, one of the reasons, number one reason why your child may be disinterested in school and in learning is the fact that there is no motivation. The child is not motivated to learn. All right, there is nothing around the child that motivates them to learn. There's nothing about school that is motivating to the child. The child does not see the why, the child does not see the reason. If you have followed me, you've heard me say this formula again and again. Okay, and the formula is that activity plus a sense of satisfaction is equal to motivation. When the child is doing an activity and there is a sense of satisfaction that comes out of that activity, then the child becomes interested in that activity. So yes, one of the reasons why your child may not be interested in schoolwork could be that the child does not get a sense of satisfaction from schoolwork. A child does not get a satisfaction from that activity. A child does not get a satisfaction from the whole process or the whole environment that is school, basically. So if this is the case, then your child will not be motivated to learn. What are the reasons why your child may not get satisfied with the schoolwork? Number one, if that child is in an environment that is not appealing, an environment that is not welcoming, an environment that is not warm, an environment that the child does not feel safe and secure in, the child may be adverse to going to that environment to learn. And so everything that happens in that environment will be the child will be disinterested in everything that happens in that environment. And guess what? That environment could simply be the teacher in that room. That environment could be a child or some children in that room. Okay, if the child feels bullied or the child is being bullied, all right, that could be a reason why your child is not interested in that environment and the child is not interested in learning as far as that learning is happening in that environment. All right, so yes, the fact that the child is being bullied in school could be a reason why the child is not, happy in that environment, and so is not interested in doing anything that happens in that environment. The fact that the child's teacher, is not warm, or the child's teacher is not welcoming, or the child's teacher is probably the one that the child sees as a threat or a bully, then the child is not going to learn in that environment. I say this every time. Children learn from the people that they connect with. Okay, that's why we spent so much time at the beginning of the school year. Last week and 2 weeks ago, we spent all the time talking about how children, what we can do, all right, what we can do to help our children connect with their teachers. All right, we talked about that it's very critical that our children connect with their teachers from the beginning. We went as far as giving tips like we can get our children to write to their teachers even before they get into the class. Write to the teacher, telling the teacher a bit about themselves. Okay, on the first day of school, this is what we did with the children in the mastermind circle. We got them to write to their teachers, introduce themselves to their teachers, right? If you couldn't do that before school, before you got to school on the first day, your parents couldn't take a letter for you or send your new teacher an email, all right? The first day you get to school is a good time to do it. Hand the teacher that letter, and what it does is it allows the teacher have a little more information about you, and so it creates a soft landing for both of you. So now the things that your teacher ordinarily would struggle to know about the other children in the class would take about 2 weeks, 1 month, or thereabouts, to get around noticing and, observing about these other children. You have given them, a preview into, the kind of child that you are, how you learn, and all of those little bits. Okay, when our son rather wrote to his teacher, he told his teacher as much as the fact that he is an auditory learner. He told the teacher as much as the fact that he likes certain subjects, and did very well in them. And there were other subjects that he did okay, but he couldn't say these are the things that I love, love, love. So basically, what he's done is he's introduced himself and he has given, the teacher, both him and his teacher, a soft landing, right? As well as far as connecting goes, right? Our daughter, I was in school yesterday, and our daughter's teacher was telling me how she had to move her from the seat that she had put her after she read her letter, because our daughter actually said in her letter that she really doesn't get to see the board very clearly because she has an eye condition that doesn't allow her see letters exactly the way they are. So because of that information, her teacher moved her seat from the middle to the front seat, basically. Now, rather than the teacher taking all 6, 7, 8 weeks to figure this out about the child, or the child never getting to say it to the teacher because the child does not understand these things, having the children know about themselves and introducing themselves and sharing this information with their teacher, of course, goes a long way. So yes, it's important that our children connect with their teachers. So if the child is in a class where they do not connect with the teachers, and then it even goes as bad as the child and the teacher, and the teacher not being warm enough to make the child comfortable in that place. Children learn when they feel safe. Children learn when they are comfortable. Children learn, right, where there is warmth. Children learn basically when there is when there's safety, basically, right, and they feel secure in that environment. So yes, if your child is not, the child will not be motivated to learn. So this could be it. So if you have a child who is adverse to learning, is not interested, is not showing any interest in learning, doesn't like to go to school and all of that, you want to pay attention to be sure that this isn't the reason why your child is not motivated to learn. All right, another reason, hi, Onye Jekwe Onye, how are you? Thank you for joining me. Good evening, ma'am. All right. Another reason why your child may not is because the ambience of the school is not exciting and enjoyable. All right. So if the ambience of the school is not inviting, it's not exciting. All right. And you happen to be have a more exciting space at home, the child is likely going to prefer to stay at home than be in school. All right. So that could be an issue also why your child is not motivated to be in school. All right. So you need to pay attention to some of these things. The other one is that the child is bored. All right. If your child is bored, now, if you have an introverted child, all right, if you have a child that is introverted, a child that is going to school for the first time, a child that has just moved to a new city, a child, that, for some reason, has that's does not connect or does not, is not very free to mingle with people. All right, that could be something, if the child is like that. So what it means is that the child is not going to get into social circles easily. The child is not going to make friends easily. And if this is the reason, it means that the child will be bored most of the times because the child is not connecting to other people. Now, this could be a reason why your child is not interested in work or in school. When a child is not interested in the activities, okay, is not interested in an environment, or the child does not feel good or happy in an environment, it becomes difficult for the child to do any activity in that environment because the child does not get a sense of satisfaction from being in that environment. So yes, if your child is struggling with, social connections and all of that, then you need to pay attention. That could be it. All right. We'll be looking at how we can help them if these things are the case. Now, when children have learning challenges, that could be another reason. All right. So sometimes our children have learning challenges, like, some of them have delayed speeches. All right. So your child could have delay in their speech. All right. And so the child is constantly feeling left out, or it could be in an environment where they don't even understand these things, or even when they do, there is no support that is adequate for the child, or it could be an environment that is not inclusive. Now, when this is the case, you find out that the child feels left out because the other children are not interested in them because, hey, they are not verbal, they are probably non-verbal, all right, or they are struggling with speech, or it could be any other delayed developmental issue that the child could have. Okay, so when the child has any of these delayed or developmental, or one of these developmental issues, right, or learning challenges, the child does not have adequate support, and the child is not in an environment where the other children have been made to understand, right, that they could have classmates who struggle in a different way, or who learn in a different way, rather not struggle, who learn in a different way. The environment is not inclusive. You find out that the child is withdrawn and the child is not interested in the things that are happening in that environment, because for one, the child is not even at the same pace with other children. The child is not understanding what other children are doing. So if the child is not being carried along and supported adequately, then the child may not be interested in being in that environment, because the child does not get a sense of satisfaction from the activities that go on in that environment. So these are some of the issues that we're looking at. All right. The next one is emotional and social issues. Yes. So of course, I started talking about that. When your child has got issues with relating with other people, the child has got issues with making friends, talking to other people, the child is overly shy, the child is withdrawn, and all of that. The child is going through culture shock, right? The child could be, could have moved to a new environment, and and the child is in a totally, different environment from where the child is coming from. The child doesn't seem to have a hang, of what to do in that environment. So the child could be going through culture shock. And at that point, the child cannot mingle with other people, and so the child feels withdrawn. The child could be in an environment where there is prejudice. All right, the child could be in an environment where there is prejudice, an environment where someone has said something negative to the child. Your child could be going through, body shaming. The child could be going through, other prejudices like racism, tribalism, body shaming, and all of that. Now, when this is the case, the child will not be interested in such an environment. Of course, so learning becomes difficult in that environment, because everything that happens in that environment becomes, of course, the child is disinterested in the environment. So nothing, it's like saying nothing can come out of this environment, because in the first place, I don't want to be here. I don't like to be here. I would rather not be here. And so there is nothing that happens in that environment that the child is interested in. So these are some of the reasons why our children may not be interested in learning. All right, it could be, as I said, it could be learning challenges. The child has been laughed at, at some point when the child was struggling, or when the child was trying to learn. Okay, the child doesn't learn at the same pace with other people, and of course, when other people have gone ahead, the child is struggling, and the times where the child has made an attempt, people have laughed at the child or something like that. So when that happens, the child just withdraws, right? The child just withdraws and becomes, uninterested in learning in that environment, or at least, poses that way, like, I am not interested in this environment. And so nothing good can come from that environment for that child. So these are some of the issues. Of course, there could be many other issues. There could be psychological issues, right? There could be many other issues that could, it could be that the child has been abused in that environment, so there are many other issues that could be it. It could be that the child is coming from an unstable home. Okay, so when there's no stability at home, when there is a lot of chaos at home, okay, and the child comes to school, it becomes difficult for the child to really learn in school, because the child, first of all, is in a place of stability. All right, so for those of us who work in school, sometimes you see the children come from home and you see them really sad. It's just unfortunate, right? But it happens to a lot of children, where they carry the baggages from home, right, and come to school to diffuse, or they carry the baggages at home and come to school, and because of all of those chaos and instability at home, right, or distability at home, the child is unable to concentrate and learn in school. So yes, all that can affect the child. It could be as a result of medical issues. All right, the child could have medical issues. It could be that the child has, the child is probably not even seeing the board. All right, the child just has some medical related issues that the child doesn't even understand themselves, that is inhibiting the child from learning. And so if it's not working, and so the child becomes disinterested in learning. So these are some of the reasons why our children may not be interested in learning. Okay, another one is the foundation. When the child has got a very wrong foundation, this comes, to learning challenges. When the child has got a very poor foundation, and all of a sudden the child gets to a certain level and the child cannot seem to connect, the child is struggling with understanding concepts, the child is struggling with doing well, right, and the child is doesn't seem to meet up with with their contemporary, with their classmates, or yes, with other students. You notice that the child just tunes off. Okay, it happens to children when they get to that point and everybody seems to be doing well and they are not, and no one is supporting them adequately. Okay, and all of that, the child just tunes off and and acts like I am not interested in learning. But meanwhile, it's their inadequacies that are actually keeping them away from trying to learn because they feel inadequate. So, how do I go about it? I just act like I am not interested, in learning. And then, of course, if the child is, well, there are no expectations, all right? So sometimes our children do not have, there are no expectations from home. The parents are not involved. Nobody's expecting anything from the child. There is no accountability. The child is more drawn to other fun activities, and the child can just generally tune off schoolwork because now schoolwork seems like a chore. It's a burden. All right. So we don't like to use the word laziness a lot when it comes to children. But then again, that's it. That complacency about schoolwork sets in, and the child would rather do other activities that seem like fun. And so the child is distracted totally from their schoolwork. So these are some of the things that could be the reason why your child is struggling. All right, so let's take only 5 of them. Okay, I've talked about almost 10 of them, but let's look at 5 of them and what we can do. All right, so yes, this is you, dear parents. You have found that your child is not interested in going to school. Your child is not interested in going to school, and somehow you've been able to trace it to the fact that the child is unhappy in school. All right, so what you want to do when you find out that your child is unhappy in school is, or how do you even find out in the first place? You want to have conversations. If your children, or if your child is old enough, all right, if your child is old enough for a conversation, okay, then you want to have a conversation about this. But in that conversation, don't come directly, all right? Don't come directly and all of that. Take the child out, or make this a whole process, okay? Make this a whole process and tell yourself it's a whole week process, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And then go ahead and start by telling stories about school. All right, tell stories about what school was like for you. Talk about other people's stories. Talk about the stories about school that your friends have talked to you about. Okay, and all of that. Just gist with your child about it as you continue to tell the stories. Okay, maybe when you're making dinner, all right, or when you decide to go out for ice cream, as you tell the stories, you will find out that you have invited your child to have conversations about school and what school is like for them. Or you can actually ask open-ended questions while you are at it. Ask them open-ended questions, right? Oh God. So the other day, I'm wondering, just ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that you will not get yes or no. It could be any question. It could be, oh my God, I had such a fantastic time in school with my friends. I had some of the amazing friends and all of that. Oh, I see you with this person and that person. Okay. What do you guys do when you're together? She's your friend, right? What do you guys do when you're together? All right, ask questions like that. Oh my goodness, I had the most amazing teacher. All right, I remember Mr. Kunle, he was our math teacher, and he used to do this, used to do that, used to do this, and all of that. Tell me a little about what your math teacher is like. All right, so when you ask open-ended questions like that, you invite your child to have a conversation with you. And then the child, especially if the environment is relaxed, you are not putting them on a chair, on the hot seats, right? When you don't put the children on the hot seats, you're just having a free flowing conversation in a relaxed way. You're cooking together, you're going on a stroll, or you are having ice cream together. You take them out on a date, no strings attached. Just have, random conversations. You will find out that the child begins to open up. All right, but make sure that you start by inviting them to have a conversation, by starting a conversation and probably sharing your own experiences too. When you do this, the child will open up, okay? And you will know what the challenge, or if the challenge is that the child doesn't just like it in that environment. And then you begin to ask questions. I mean, from the conversation, you will hear why the child doesn't like it. I don't like my class teacher. Or, I mean, thank God you're even lucky you had a good class teacher. My class teacher is just really this, is just that. That way you begin to get insight into what is going on with the child. All right. If it's a person or it's some people that are bullying the child, you will get insight into it, and all of that. And if it is a child who is in boarding school or something like that, you will also get insight into it and what it is that your child is struggling with. So, of course, we can't go deep into all of that, what to do, what phase your child could be going through, in boarding school, and what you can do to help them at that level, because this show is just a 30-minute show and we can't do much in this show. Okay, we can give you tips, and point you to some of the things that could be your child's struggle, but we can't dive deep inside, this. That's why we say to parents, if you have children between ages 6 and 13, register them in our peer mentorship and accountability group, where we can work with you and the children, and we begin to walk this journey together, right? We begin to walk this journey together. So we are hearing from the child, you are hearing from the child, your child is talking to you, your child is talking to us. There could be what your child cannot say to you or hasn't said to you, but because of the way we run the program and the things we do in the program, the child feels more relaxed to talk to us about it. It could be during their conversations with their buddies, and the child is able to mention these things. It's amazing how children open up when they talk to other people like themselves that they feel can relate to what they are saying. So these are all the opportunities that being or having your child in the mastermind does for you. It helps them have that environment where they feel safe, and we can have true conversations, and before you know it, you have more insight into what is happening with your child. This is one of the many benefits of the mastermind circle. All right, the other one is, okay, let's talk about the fact that your child has got learning challenges. All right, now, how do you know that your child has got learning challenges? All right, we know of children who are on the spectrum. Okay, in that case, most times by the time the child is 7, you will know for sure that your child is struggling with something. But we say to parents, don't wait till your children are that old. All right, when if you notice any form of learning challenge or any gap, all right. So that's why it's important that you are constantly getting knowledge as a parent. You are constantly getting knowledge, and you are constantly revamping what it is you know about parenting. See, if you are a parent who has a baby, you should be reading books about raising babies and toddlers. That's what you should be doing. You should read books, you should take courses, you should avail yourself, right, the opportunity to keep learning about children around this bracket and the next phase of your child's life. What this does is it equips you and it allows you to understand the brain of the child that you are raising and the behavior of the child that you are raising. It opens you up to know the milestones, right, that are expected or that your child is supposed to, attain at that level. Now, we're not saying every child will attain the same milestone at the same time, but basically, you have, you understand the window period that your child is in. You understand the level or the place where your child is at. So when something is not working or you are not seeing what you should be seeing, then you're able to, be present enough to pay attention. All right. And if for any reason you have any iota of doubt, we like to say, why don't you go ahead and see an expert? It won't kill to go there and they say there is nothing. All right. We have heard of people on the spectrum, children on the spectrum, children with other kind of, learning and behavioral challenges, that because they were able to diagnose them early and they started intervention, the parents were able to help those children live normal. I mean, they were able to help them, manage the situation or manage, the challenges basically to the point that the children are living full life, and they're independent enough, right, to do everything that other people who do not have these challenges too. Because basically, our role is to help our children live to their best, ability. Our role is to help them live their full capacity. Our goal is to help our children live lives that are fulfilling, and that our children are able to navigate life on their own. So yes, there are children who have these challenges, but because they had parents who were visionary enough and who were present enough, they were able to nip some challenges in the bud, to the extent that the children are still able to navigate on their own because of early interventions. So yes, if you notice your child has got speech delay, okay, rather than stay there and start saying, oh, my grandmother did not speak till she was 6, my uncle did not speak till he was 10, there is nothing wrong with going to check. Let the expert check and say, okay, it doesn't seem like there is any other thing. It's a better place to be than to sit down there and keep guessing or living in denial. Okay, let's not take that thing we do with ourselves and take it to our children. If there are challenges, let's face them and let's deal with them. Early interventions will always, always, always help. All right. Now, peer influence. Did I talk about peer influence? Okay, I think that was the last thing I was supposed to talk about, peer influences. All right. So now this peer influence could be anything, as I said. It could be that your child is being bullied by another child. It could be that your child is mingling with a group of friends who are not interested in schoolwork. All right. It could be that your child is struggling with self-esteem issues. All right. And the child is not self-aware, or the child is not self-sufficient, basically. So when our children struggle with low self-esteem, all right, issues, or when they struggle, with esteem issues, confidence, and all of that, they tend to, look to the next child who seems to be bold and confident about their choices. So what we see is that our children begin to tune or begin to bend towards these children that seem to be confident and self-assured. All right, so the thing is, if we do not help our children boost their self-esteem at home, and self-esteem is something that is actually boosted at home, you will have to help your child boost that self-esteem. How can you do that? You start by making sure that you're not a parent that is constantly judging the child and telling the child all the child cannot do. Look at the things that your child can do well and praise the effort that they make towards those things. As you praise the effort towards the things that your children know how to do, everybody's got one thing or two things that they love or they know how to do well. Now pay attention to what your child can do and give less attention to the things that they do wrong. The more you encourage and the more you encourage and see, the more you catch them doing good, the more you acknowledge them doing the right thing, the more you acknowledge the efforts that they make, right, the more fulfilling it is for your child, or the more encouraged your child is to do more. Every child wants to please you, dear parents. Every child wants to please you until they get to the point where it doesn't seem like anything they do can please you. And so what do? They begin to develop coping mechanisms to cope without your validation. So you see that child that everybody is shouting is stubborn, is this. A lot of the times is a child that has just gone to reached that place where, something, if I cannot get positive attention, I will get it negatively. And yes, if I cannot do anything that will make you think that I am worth it, then I will do whatever it is to trouble you to see me. You will see me anyway, because the child has resolved that, there's nothing I can do that is good enough for you. So, something, I'm not even going to bother trying to do anything that you think is good. So I'm going to cope with you not thinking, right, that I can do anything right, but you will see me. Okay, and so all of this negative behavior begins to come in because the child wants attention. Every child wants attention, and yes, every child wants to please us. And if they cannot, then they get attention anyway. All right, so these are some of the issues. We've run out of time, and so we will have to stop here for today. As I said, this show is not enough to take all of the things that we can teach you in these areas. But I hope I've answered some of the questions, and now you know why it could be that your child is not interested in learning, and you know what you have to do if your child is in that space where the child doesn't like school, doesn't enjoy being in school, you can look for the reason. You need to get to the root cause of why the child is not liking school before you begin to look for solutions. It could be that the child is struggling with learning challenges. All right, if you pay attention, then you want to look at it. Now knowledge is what will separate you, and knowledge is what will help you in this situation. It's not about going to teacher A, teacher B. Some of us will talk to this teacher, talk to that teacher, talk to that teacher. A lot of times some of the teachers don't even have the answers. I hope we know this. A lot of the teachers don't have the answers. Some teachers are just basically trained, right, to teach, pedagogy. I mean, they're just trained to, teach from the curriculum, and that's about it. They're not trained in other areas. They're no psychologists in many cases. All right, so let's stop packing too many burdens and putting on the teacher, who probably doesn't even have the expertise for this. The teacher can tell you what they notice in class, but the teacher cannot diagnose. So you want to pay attention, because most likely you even have more to see in that child than the teacher can see. All right, so we say get them into, get into that space as a parent and all of that. All right, and then of course we can support you with all of that knowledge gathering and knowledge building and supporting the child all the way, if you get them into the mastermind circle. Because when the child gets into the mastermind circle, then it means that we are working with you and we are working with your child, and this journey has become a triangular relationship between you, us, and your child. And I tell you, it's usually a win 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 when you have collaborators, especially when you have experts collaborating with you in supporting your children. So yes, you can join the mastermind circle by just taking the information that you see right now scrolling on your screen, and with that you can actually take the information scrolling and reach out to us to join the mastermind circle, or check in the comment section and you'll see all the details you need. All right, we just started a new cohort and we still have some slots available. All right, before we close finally for the year, you want to take the opportunity and jump in this month, where we're still setting goals and getting the children set, prepped to run. All right, so you can get in right now. You haven't missed anything. Okay, before you get into the mastermind circle, we have amazing resources that will bless your children. All right, Unlocking Excellence, beautiful, beautiful book, a child's guide to success beyond the classroom. You want to teach your children to succeed in every area of their life. We have this amazing, amazing one, Young and Money Smart, so that we can teach our children to have the abundant mindset. This is a amazing, amazing bestseller. All right, this book is so amazing. Destined for greatness. Your child is destined for greatness. Let them know this. Let them read this book and understand why they are. We have bedtime stories for champions. Our super, super, super book. Do you have a child that you want to see that today, right now, you can start impacting the world? Then they should be reading this book at a time like this. Playtimes for stories. You want to raise your children in a stimulating environment in your home, then get them to read Playtime Stories for Champions, even for your little ones. And yes, why is your child not documenting their journey? Why is your child not reflecting at the end of the day? Get your children to start journaling. This is an amazing 365 days journal for just 3,500 naira only. You can't get even our regular jotters. You can't get them for 3,500 naira, and this is tailored right for this purpose and great for children with affirmations, and pump up, comments and all of that. Then we have Stories for Champions, beautiful, beautiful book showing us Christmas stories, showing telling us about Christmas and what Christmas was like for us growing up in the 80s. You want your children to read this. All right, and of course we have our planner and the parenting book, Mentor Parents. So you can get all of our books on Amazon, and you can order hard copies like we have here by reaching out to us or going to our seller store to make, order for them. Right, the link to the seller store would also be shared in this under this post, so you can use that to join to order a book or order our books for you and for your child. Have a fantastic evening, parents, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock for another episode of How Can I Support My Child series. Bye now.